much more unique to Lucian in the bot lane than Ornn's is to Ornn in the top lane. So I'm quite happy to see the Lucian picked up as a first pick. You expect the Nami to come through in second rotation, likely going to match the jungler as well. Okay, we have a Draven.
We
We
do have
have aggression.
we do have a Draven, and I think it's important to note that they've got to consolidate that with something strong for the support pick roundabout now. So that means I think that's the way that Vitality.Bee will round out their first pick phase. But in response now, LDLC have a few options. I think if you want to pick stuff that can get onto its face, Volibear would
Oh,
be
I
a good
love
option for
this.
Yike. Here I'm expecting it to be the case that they probably pick
Nami.
could do.
I mean, Nami just fits, right? This is
Yeah.
this is the Lucian Nami bot lane. You don't want to be giving that as an opportunity to be banned away in second rotation. Really good stuff by LDLC, and I love the Volibear pick in particular. Because whenever you see a Draven, you tend to think, okay, well, wants to snowball early and then leverage that lead to be a very present late game threat. And I think that this game in particular, when you pick the Volibear, you say that you can battle 2v2, 3v3 down on that bot side, and you have that jungle presence as well. Where Wukong, we talked about it, needs that level 6 to have that real hit marker that we're looking toward, where Volibear himself is not necessarily in that same breed. It can just go from level 3 onwards, very aggressive, very high damage style, and make moves through that manner. This is another second phase of bans where we can very easily expect to see Ornn, excuse me, either on the table for the bans or up for first pick, because LDLC are going to be drafting toward this bot lane. Very similar to sort of what we've seen from them a few times now, and
I'd
I think
expect
that
to
with this
see
draft, it's set up for an Ornn into a bot lane style
I'd
play.
expect to see an Ari ban here if in terms of you taking away these safe blinds that Ica will just default to. We'll expect that to get taken off the table because in terms of if you want to be looking for that counter pick, you know that they're probably going to be locking it in next. I would imagine would be the pick they would default towards. Victor as
Ari
well,
already banned
maybe.
away by
Oh,
LDLC.
I'm completely blind. My bad.
So that taking away different mid lane blinds on both sides, it looks like. I'm curious about where the teams end up going, because it looks like Vitality.Bee are setting up for their own or taking away good blinds themselves, right? We've seen Victor and Azir taken off the table, which means that they may just steal away the Ornn here. Normally you would ban Ornn away from LDLC just because they'll take it in literally any single game that they can. But I think that they could try and pick this one up for themselves in that top lane and then set up for a mid lane counter pick, having seen all of these
Yep.
mid lane blinds taken off the board. Really nice from
All dude.
Vitality.Bee. Sajenda just takes it away from Ragnar. LDLC sort of left with this Corki now. The Azir, the Victor both banned away, but there are plenty of other options in the mid lane still about. We know that there has been, plenty of LFL mid laners that'll take things like the Zoe, the Lissandra as well still exist, not necessarily as a counter to the Corki, but there's plenty up on the board for Diplex to go for. Vigar as well, still a fairly powerful pick if he wants that too.
Yeah, completely agree. Hovering, what will be the top laner here in terms of blinds for Ragnar? What he'll pick here? Would expect him to default to the Scion. For example, it's probably quite safe. Just pretty handshake matchup into the Ornn. I think Ornn wins it early, I'd imagine, and then it sort of evens out a little bit more around the level 9, 11 level mark. I'm not entirely sure.
I will leave that to your own devices. Tanks hit tanks, and at the end of the day, it's whoever gets more grass procs if they go for those keystones. That's the most entertaining thing about these tanks for me. So it's the mid lane answer for Vitality.Bee, and Swain comes through. This is nerfed Swain on 12-11, excuse me. But I think overall up against this LDLC comp, this is a fairly good Swain pick. Outside of Ica, this is a very short range composition that LDLC have drafted for themselves. Going to be a lot of people that are just kind of diving into the Swain and really giving him good value from the Demonic Ascension. But really, Jake, what this all comes down to, once again, who's going to get prio and who can affect bot the most? We have Lucian Nami versus Draven Leona. This is like this is an old god 2v2 bot lane up against the new god 2v2 bot lane, right? Where Draven Leona used to slam seasons gone by as a bot lane duo. Now it's Lucian Nami as a bot lane 2v2 that are going at one another. We just kind of have to wait and see who it is that comes out on top.
Yeah, and I do believe it is the case that it's very important in terms of who hits the wave and gets that level 2 mark, because once you get to that level 2 mark, obviously the Draven and the Leona, if they hit that level 2 first, they can then burn those summoners, get that kind of, and delay the curve almost that exists from the level 2 to 3 mark for the Lucian army, whereby if they get that early, they then just go in, get a heavy chunk in terms of the trade, and then they win the lane from that point onwards. So I would like us to be paying special attention down towards that, because it's a very important landmark in this game. Also for me, in terms of early pathing, I feel like the Lucian army requires a lot more attention in terms of where the junglers are going to be going. We have seen Yike do some interesting pathing adaptations in terms of where he's going, even in regards to lanes that you would traditionally seeing as requiring attention. But for me, Vitality.Bee skins has a few more directions you can go in. I think you can path towards at the top side, and it's not necessarily going to come at the absolute detriment of the team in the same way that it will for the Draven and the Leona if they don't get that same attention Lelouch and Nami do. But what I am expecting is a ruckus in the bot lane. In any case, we will have to find out very shortly, Rude.
We are onto the Rift now. Here for Vitality.Bee up against the undefeated LDLC. My game of the day, Don Jake. I am particularly excited by this one. I've predicted Vitality.Bee. You have predicted LDLC to go undefeated through today at the very least.
Oh, I'm predicting the whole way through. You know, I'm very much a proponent and major acolyte of the Church of Yike, which is also a subsidiary of the Church of LDLC. And, you know, I do believe they will be able to complete that 9-0 first Robin. And I think it all starts here, Rude Dude.
I'm ready for it. I want to look down at that bot lane already because we do have Exakick in a little bit of a precarious position. It looked like Jack Troll was ready to, at a moment's notice, flash over a wall and burn Exakick's flash, but that did not end up coming to fruition. What I expect from these early stages here is just complete jungle top to bot every single time they get a chance. You mentioned it in the draft that it really does matter who gets to this wave first of all. I'm actually really surprised that Jack Troll and Jessica haven't forced their way into a lane brush just yet. I think that this is like I say, could be fairly scary for either of these two bot lanes, and whoever can get down there the fastest of these junglers would not be surprised to see a skipped camp. You know, potential 3 camp into bot lane or just 5 instead of the full clear, because there's a lot of control to be rested for in the bot side of this rift.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important, like we said before, this level 2 mark in the bot lane is really our focal point, what we want to be looking at. It's just super important just for the general dictating, general how the pace is going to be dictated in this game. It's going to be a major tone setter this first 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks obviously Draven with just more damage with those
Flash
axes
forward,
going in
cleanse and response from Exakick. That flash as well, and we spoke about how it's going to be explosive. Now the race to level 2 happens now. The arms race.
And Vitality.Bee are winning this. They've got 2 extra ranged creeps that are going to be wailing away on that wave. They've also got Draven, who just pushes faster than Illusion with those axes. No summoner spells available for Exakick now. And Jack Troll, like we say, they've reached level 2, has got that Zenith Blade available, doesn't elect to go for it right there. But Hex Flash available for the Leona as well. Just because you burn your own flash when you've got that Hex Flash available, it's such an advantage now. And that race to bot lane, again, even more on for these junglers. Because if they can get down here and turn the tides when there's no summoner spells on the bot laners, that's just going to make even more difference.
Agrees. It's a nice little trade. Going to get the W as well. Get some stacks from that. Just trying to find a little bit of a trade out, but actually getting out damage pretty much by Diplex's auto attack.
Good to see a little bit of return damage though. Can't be just absorbing all the damage, not firing anything back. Maybe sticks around a little bit too long, but overall, not too shabby in terms of the speed or the trading at which happens. Looking at the jungle clears though, Yike completing that full clear where we see Skeens actually moving down to that crab a little bit earlier. Hasn't quite done his blue or grump just yet, and that does, you know, sort of hint back to these buffs or nerfs rather that came through on this patch. The slower clear that the Wukong gets. We do need to just be a little bit cautious for this Vitality.Bee bot lane right now, as we do know that Yike just here, ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you raised there that I almost want to, you know, further delve into, is that it's a theme that we've seen today, that is Wukong clears getting quite slow, and you almost have to concede a lot of early tempo into a lot of these matchups you traditionally wouldn't have to. The Volibear obviously clearing out a lot quicker here, and it's not exactly like the slowness in the clear is coming at the cost of, or coming at the advantage rather, of, you know, the lane presence. I believe that time has been kind of saved down, pushed down almost, and getting able to much tempo from it.
Yeah, not gaining any advantages, and you know what? All told, good nerf, right? That's the point of it's the point of these nerfs, is that they do make these champions a little bit weaker, and if you are ending up playing a little bit slow on the map, then, you know, job well done.
No, here, Skeens is here, but Exakick does not have the flash if they can find him. They've managed to do it. Skeens, that's going to be a first blood. Wukong, unfortunately, does get it. Maybe like to get a little bit more of a gold injection onto Draven. Right, going to be going straight for that Krog camp. Shigenda has to make a decision here.
Oh, it's so delayed by Skeens as well, that timing, right? There's no way that LDLC are thinking 4 minutes 30 in that their jungler's just completed his first clear and is, you know, ganking us in the bot lane, but that was the case. It was an advantage generated by the weaker clear for the Wukong. Skeens spends a little bit of time down on that bot side and nets himself first blood. It doesn't go into the Draven, like you say, no cash out just yet, but he's gone straight into the serrated Dirk. Really good early game spike for the Draven, probably the best he could have spent that gold on. Would have had Noon Quiver money, but just decided he didn't want to go for it. The trade on the flip side is that Skeens loses his second spawn of Raptors, which is going to slow him down a little bit in terms of getting up to its marker, but he'll be more than happy to supplement that with the gold from the first blood.
Absolutely, and I think it's an important thing to note that although we've spoken about how LDLC are very controlled in these early games, and it's more the case that Vitality.Bee needs the early game to go right rather, for them to be able to find it. But LDLC kind of on the back foot in terms of some of the questions that are being posited by Vitality.Bee, having to respond a lot. A lot of the aggression is coming out of the spot lane.
They can just keep doing it. They can keep forcing stand aside hits, but Exakick able to quite nicely dash away just in time before Jack Troll gets down here. This wave now, they've got a choice to make through Vitality.Bee. Do they stick it? Do they keep it pushing into them and try and force aggressive plays under the turret, or do they keep Jeskler's axes stacking? Because that is the issue with Draven, is that you can't not auto-attack for fear of dropping those axes and dropping the trade possibility. And you can see that, you know, trying to manage that as best as possible here, but ultimately this wave is going to start pushing back toward LDLC. Maybe just a little bit later than they may have hoped for.
A little bit later. They have got a lot of excess minions to play with here. I don't expect Yike to be able to find too much unless Vitality.Bee's aggression that has served them so far seems to be their undoing, but that might be the case here. Jack Troll going to flash away here. Yike can't quite find the excess damage that's needed. One more tick of Ignite will do it. Flash from Exakick's not up just yet. Skeens is getting a lot of damage onto him. One more war attack. So low. Can Jack Troll find his way to the blast cone? He can.
Wow.
LDLC almost had their fingers on 2 kills here, but it's going to get slipped away just right at the last second.
But that does not matter. Look at the wave lost. Look at the advantage generated for the LDLC bot lane. Despite that first blood having gone down, CS now even. Experience going to be in favor of the LDLC AD carry. Gorgeous timing from Yike, and Ica moving down there as well just to supplement the play. Means that this is a massive wave lost under the turret. This is Jeskler now very far behind in the 2v2. And that gives over a massive window now for Exakick and DOS to play with. We saw just at the start of that trade quite how powerful Lucian Nami truly is. They dashed in and took Jessica down to 30% HP, and the Draven from there on in is kind of like, whoa, I kind of forgot that this is Lucian Nami at the end of the day. They're a powerful 2v2 for a reason. The electrocute comes through, and all the trading power is, you know, fully expunged by LDLC. But then they're able to use the volley bear early game as well to turn back around onto Jack Troll. Now, of course, is when the real laning nitty gritty comes to force, because X-Kick kind of has this advantage. Whether they can push it in the 2v2 remains to be seen, because we have got a Dragon on the board, we've got a Rift Herald on the board, and we're going to see where the teams tend to place their priorities.
Game of straws thus far, and yet to see who's going to be pulling the short one of that wheelhouse of that. Struggle to find the word there, but in terms of people who aren't struggling to find the words, fight seems to be the word for Vitality.Bee's bot lane so far. 12 CS lead. Going to be responding to that wave that gets pushed in there. Now moving up towards this top lane Rift Herald. Going to be contested too heavily, although Nami has roamed up here.
This could be the difference maker, but we do have both of the Vitality.Bee bot laners here. Of course, Jessica still not yet cashed out or died, so those Draven stacks from the early game certainly will be stacking up. And also worth pointing out, in case we haven't seen too many Dravens, we don't tend to see them that much, but Draven did receive a nerf a few patches ago, where his ultimate, and we've reached that level 6 marker, so it now becomes relevant, his ultimate now deals execute damage based on the amount of stacks that he has. So if we see a lot of stacks, we can start to see that execute threshold begin to increase, and the ability for Jessica to cash in really start to explode. So the playmaking capability on this bot side continues to increase, because LDLC want to shut down the
Jack Troll might have gotten caught out here. Doesn't have flash available. The burst might just be enough. One more auto attack. Not going to do it. It's actually going to be the turnaround. Skeens finds the engage. And here comes Diplex. No. Diplex flashes forward. Jessica not able to get that cash in there you would have liked, but it looked like Diplex might have been able to get 3 there if the summoners weren't available.
Yeah, all summoner spells burned that LDLC had available outside of that ignite, because there was no way they're trying to get a kill in that position. Jack Troll, obviously the Leona here, we've seen time and time again, don't burn your stuff onto the Aftershock Leona. It's not an Aftershock this time around, but Eclipse does largely the same job, and with plated steel caps now completed, Jack Troll, a fairly scary front line for the next 5-10 minutes or so, will start to peter out as that support economy really starts to hammer him home. But still a kill for the Vitality.Bee bot side. It's gone into Diplex this time round, but it's a kill once again onto Exakik, who is going to slowly start to be in a slightly worse and worse position. No willing death for Jeskler, but might have looked to take a 2v2 right there. He's got his support near enough by for him to feel a little bit confident. Yike here, though, just to show a little bit of extra presence, and this could be a little bit scary. Again, we can't stress enough how important this Draven is to the state of the game. If he either gets killed or gets a kill, will turn the tides of this game entirely.
Absolutely. If he's able to collect those 200 stacks he's got, it's going to be a massive gold injection. First dragon of the game seems to be LDLC's for now, as Skeens is on the top side, and they're going to be able to take this relatively quickly with Ica's pressure in the mid lane. And although Vitality.Bee have found that early advantage, it seems like they've almost slowed down a bit, Rupee.
They have, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It just means that it becomes a little scarier for them the later the game goes. We know Corki is going to do astronomical amounts of damage, and Corki versus Draven, if the Draven gets on top of the Corki, then yeah, you expect the Draven to win. But the nature of Corki presently is that he never gets anywhere near, you never get anywhere near anybody, and you just get rocketed from 1,200 units, and you can never play League of Legends, unfortunately. So you would like to see Vitality.Bee try and accelerate the pace of this game. They do have good answers into the short-range nature of LDLC, but this
Skeens fires an engage onto Exakik. Exakik has cleanse, but no ult, no flash, sorry. He's going to be getting Draven ult. Can he collect it? Not quite. Ultimate was slightly too right afield. Counter engage onto Jack Troll here. Might have bitten off slightly a bit more than he can chew. Another kill for Vitality.Bee. They keep finding these picks in the jungle.
Constantly taking Exakik down once again. 0-3 now on the Lucian. Constantly the source of this pressure for Vitality.Bee, but not the one that's able to, not getting the kills into the right target just yet. Jessica, though, going to take a massive chunk out of this bot lane turret, maybe even 100-0 it with that Rift Herald down in the bot side that Skeens can put down. Taking their time with it quite nicely, putting a dive mid.
Yeah, dive mid onto Diplex. Diplex, can he find the healing quite? Not gonna be the case. Yike gets the kill, and that's gonna mean a lot more plates, but in response in the bot lane, that's gonna be the first turret of the game.
And a lot of gold injected into Jeskla, not through the kill necessarily, but through the turret itself. This mid-tier 1 likely not going to be able to fall. Ica probably gets this plate, and that's about it here. Completed Mana Moon, though, means that Ica is scaling up very nicely into the game itself. In terms of people to keep your eyes on for LDLC, Ica has been a key attributor so far. Joint at the top of the table for players of the game. Both him and Chekolad being at the top of that with 3 each so far. This is that pick, though, that they found in the jungle. Exakick, unfortunately, just caught on vision there. Gets knocked up and right in the face of Skeens. Beautiful predictive ulti from Jack Troll and times the Zenith Blade beautifully to be able to go over the top of the Nami wave. Rides it right on top of the ADC. He'll going to Skeens quite nicely, and then Yike can't quite find the angle to go back in. So, wonderful little trade. Beautiful mechanical play from Jack Troll as well. It is worth mentioning that there's never necessarily too much to Leona, but that was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Find a kill in response, though. It's really important. LDLC start to consolidate as they don't fall behind, because we know how dangerous Vitality.Bee can be going into that mid game. They're able to get away with that, and they do balloon leads rather voluptuously.
And this is completely just lethality Draven at this point as well. Sometimes you'll see crit with shield bow, but this is Collector, it looks like, potentially Lord Doms, but Eclipse is his mythic item. I thought that the Dirk was just going to be sat on whilst he worked on an Immortal Shield Bow, but that is not the case. Immediately built that one up, and you know, up against this fairly tanky front line, I think that he's going to certainly struggle, so I would be surprised if that's not an LDR coming through. You know, you've got Scion Volley Bear that you're trying to cut through at a certain point. But it's crazy to me that we are 14 minutes into the game and we're spectating this part of the map. Vitality.Bee just so far deep into the LDLC jungle that Sky Splitter is forced to be used in the bush that's just outside the base gates for LDLC.
Yeah, absolutely. Vitality.Bee being able to just really open up this map, open up this side of the map through the bot lane. We spoke about how important it was in terms of this bot lane matchup. First to 2, for us to build that advantage, and it has been the case that Exakick is bearing the brunt of the sins that were played out in level 1-2. I wonder how many stacks Draven is actually sitting at around about now, and what that actually translates to.
Let's look at Jeskla. Let's go over. We need to see how much, because this is like a really big combat boost as well for the Draven, right? We touched on it a little bit ago, but I need to reiterate that the damage that comes from the stacks that Draven has truly are quite impactful. So if we could get a look at that, that would be gorgeous to see what Jeskala's sitting on. For right now, the teams are setting up around the Dragon. It was a fairly slow-paced game in terms of objectives early on. Herald got taken about that 8-minute mark, but Dragon not taken until 10, so a little bit later and slower than we're normally anticipating.
We'll see if kind of primed a trap here. If they think Exakick's going a little bit too far forward, maybe Jack Troll can push a trigger here and find it reverse back on himself. Maybe them just farming.
Okay, so just, you know, this mid lane ping pong that we tend to see. Looks like Vitality.Bee are the ones that are going to have to try and wrest control back of the river. Draven sat on 367 stacks as we head into this fight. So that is 367 HP execute threshold with the Whirling Death. You can see just constantly toying, I suppose, in this mid lane. Really short range ADCs looking to go toe to toe with one another. And I would like to see these top laners move out of their lanes. They've both been not proxy farming, but tanking the waves on one another. But they're here to play 5v5 League of Legends. They need to move about the map, set up for these big engagements. And it looks like merely the threat of an Ornn roam is enough to dissuade LDLC from going for this dragon. Skeen's going to do it on the Blast Cone on complete vision, excuse me, of the Scuttle Crab, but it doesn't necessarily matter as Yak actually goes in.
Maybe them
Stolen the dragon.
Has still the dragon is. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get to see that. He's not going to find the ultimate just over the wall here, but it's the second dragon of the game. Another kill for Vitality.Bee.
And it's another kill that doesn't go the way of the Draven there. There was no flash available for Yike, but I think that obviously at this point, at any point in the game as well, it is worth just saying Skeens. But caught flashes out to safety. It's worth saying merely getting the kill is worth so much as well, that the fact that you get it onto the Draven is like an extra added boost. Some also the ramifications that come of if they can get that kill onto the Draven specifically. If you can ever give the kill over, it is definitely much more worthwhile. Both of our tanks, though, starting to accrue some fairly substantial item markers. Frozen Heart plus that Frozen Fist for Ragnar already completed. We're getting close to that Force Agenda as well. So both of these two top laners that we've, touted as being very good carry players, playing their role so far this game. Yet to find these big team fights, yet to find these crucial engages, but Ragnar in the 1v1 versus the Swain, we anticipate not going to have the best of times.
Most certainly not. That's going to be difficult for him to do much there. I think he just gets kited around, kind of led to second fiddle in terms of what the Swain can actually do and actualize. Vitality.Bee, they're in the mid-game phase now. This is what we famed them for. They famed them for being able to take over games. Although they've been able to swallow themselves and kind of swallow their pride almost, and strangle out some vision in the enemy jungle. LDLC are still finding a lot of the space here, and I feel like they're doing a good job in terms of just slowing Vitality.Bee down a bit. Fair to say, Rude Dude.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Not wrong in any capacity. They are just making this game a little slower, and now Skeen's going to try and find DOS, potentially Yike on the board.
Engaged onto Yike. Yike has to flash. DOS feeling lucky there that he wasn't the one getting engaged onto. Did have the flash available as well.
Now they should be able to turn back, take this mid-tier 1 turret. The Herald goes down, so they may even look for tier 2. You can see that we've got Jack Troll running anchor on the lane. Can't let anybody in through the easiest way into that mid lane, and may just look to try and execute onto Yike here. They have got 2 members in this mid lane to LDLC to try and defend. Charge comes through, but there's no turrets to be taken. As it is just LDLC once again trying to keep Vitality.Bee at arm's length and make sure that they can't accelerate this game too much just yet, because we know that the late game we're expecting Ica to really step up, really perform. Has completed his Mirror Mana already, working on the Liandry's too. Try and be a bit of a presence in these team fights. Going to be trying to cut through the Ornn, cut through the Swain as well. Rylai's Crystal Scepter, the first item of choice, working toward that Zhonya's secondarily, you would imagine, for Diplex. And point of contention for every Swain is what mythic they go for. You can go for so many items as the Swain, and honestly, I'm just going to wait and see which one it is.
Ica has to flash out here from Skeens. If that ultimate had clipped him, there would have been a little bit of danger. But like I say, continuing affair is the fact that LDLC is slowing the game down, building towards Ica's time to shine. Seems to be a lot is riding on him. Their main win condition that was built from draft was Exit Kick. LDLC are a team that can pivot when they need to, and they're kind of in a bit of a dire strait in the sense that they need to now rely on Ica a lot. Having this flash, his next fight might be a little bit dangerous for him, but he should have the package.
And of course, with 2 dragons already secured here for LDLC, they're slowly stacking them up. It's not necessarily the fastest Drake pacing that we've seen from games before. We have seen a couple of souls, from a couple minutes time of now. Exakick just playing on the edges here, obviously in the range of Jack Troll's ult, but does have Relentless Pursuit to get away. Red buff secure.
Gonna find DOS though. DOS has flash here, but it's an engage from Yike off to the side. Ragnar has ultimate as well. Will he go in here? Skeens has been caught out. Yu does not quite knock him up there, but it's a quick pick. But an on off to the side, lands onto 3. Exit has flash and cleanse. He's going to flash away here. Shigenda's found an engage. He's going to find 2 almost immediately. DOS and Yike have gone down. This is a massive victory for Vitality.Bee. Ragnar flashes into the Swain drag, and he might go down even through about 4,000 HP.
Double kill for the Draven, plus 1,255 gold for Jeskler. 4 kills worth of money from the passive stacked up, just in time for a Drake fight. They should look to base, spend their gold, get this Draven as much money as possible before they go to that Drake. Ica came out of the base with package a few seconds too late, wasn't able to turn the tides of the fight. You can see Ica looking perilously with that package, wants to try and find somebody caught a little bit off guard. They're not going to find anybody, and they may well be able to turn back and get this Drake for themselves just because they're slightly ahead of the play. They delayed the resets of Vitality.Bee so much. But TP's coming through, big commitment now. Can LDLC get this Drake and get out?
They're going to try and just burst it out here. They don't have jungle though, unfortunately. Skeens off to the side here. Yike has to get in. He's got nowhere to get in though. If it drops below 1.3, it's going to be able to get bursted. Exit Kick doing a lot of damage over to the side here. They've got a zone. Skeens out. They do find it. They turn. And they're taking a lot of damage. The Leonie does go wide as well. Counter engage here. What can they get away with? Yike's going to get taken down. But can they find it before? Ragnar crashes into the wall. It's a big Draven ult as well. Have to try and find their way out here. A lot of damage here, but don't stick around for too long. You might see the Ornn Horn. Ion getting killed as well. 2 kills for Vitality.Bee. LDLC get that ever so important penultimate soul point. Jack Troll's gone too far in. He gets taken out by Ica.
A bit too much, but they could go for a repeat here. Jeskler, he's got that bloodthirster. He can vamp up if he can find a way. Diplex dead as well. Crucial from Exakit, crucial from the bot lane here of LDLC. They find an extra pick. It denies what could have been a potential Baron start, but they could go for more.
Could get more here. Doss is trying to fish for it. Come on. Not much. Teleport from Corky has come in. Off the
no
side.
package.
Catch it off. I'm going to cut them off here. And we'll use the W. Born here. Shigena's going to have to stun him up here to try and prevent him. Ica's spaced it well. Has to try and get onto Jeskler. W forward now. Fighting from Jeskler out. Can he turn it? He can't quite do it. One more O would have done it. 3 items is that Draven. The shutdown does go the way of LDLC. They're starting to mount themselves now. Gold lead is starting to surmount slightly ever towards that equidistant point. LDLC march towards this 3 minutes until this soul. Looking good for them.
These team fights are absolutely chaotic. I don't know who we're watching. It's always Diplex versus Ica, it feels like, in these team fights in terms of damage. Diplex is there as a supplementary factor to just kind of sit there and be a bit of a nuisance, but Jeskler's the one constantly rattling damage out left, right, and center. Completes himself some plated steel caps now for a little bit more durability. But in these exchanges, it's all coming down to such fine margins. It is 5v5 Death Ball Central. If you wanted to watch a team fight comp, a team fight game, this is the one that you come to. No less is it our 2 teams that are battling out at the top of the standings. LDLC, a team 6-0, yet to drop a game this season up against the Vitality.Bee squad, who have dropped 1 game so far, but have looked consistently like they could be the top of the pack alongside LDLC. Every single fight, every single trade that happens is sitting on the edge of a precipice that could so easily get tipped over one way or the other. As Vitality.Bee are the ones that turn their attentions toward the big purple worm, the objective of choice for the next couple minutes, because you quite rightly mentioned it, Don Jake. We have an Infernal Dragon spawning 2 minutes away. Vitality.Bee can't get it to soul for LDLC.
Engage here onto Doss. They might be able to get him before he can do anything. Skeens is going to get taken out almost by Yike. One more attack will do it. Ica and Exakit are doing so much damage, but they're going to get Yike as well. I'm going to quite come down to timer that is beneficial for this soul. Still, a fight that does go the way of Vitality.Bee.
Able to catch the Scion here as well, but Unstoppable Onslaught is actually, used even so, and Ragnar does make it away from danger. The bot tier 2 turret not taken down, and ultimately, like you mentioned, those kills not too impactful. It's a couple kills over. It's 1 to Jeskler. It's 1, I believe, also onto Diplex, but at the timing at which it's these late game timings that matter so much. Now, what you would have maybe liked to see was a potential turn up toward the Baron, a potential turn towards setting up vision around the bot side. Unfortunately, Vitality.Bee not really able to get away with any of that. And now they're going to try and set their attentions to setting up around the important objective. The thing that LDLC have got going their way is obviously they've got all these 3 dragons. They can say to Vitality.Bee, you know what, we don't want this dragon. We don't need this dragon to win the game. If we can take the Baron instead, that will put us in a much better position relative to the game state. You with your 1 measly Infernal Drake, us with our Baron buff. That's a worthwhile trade for them. Yeah, I'm not going to get hit by that Zenith Blade, and the mind games begin. LDLC, they've got very little coverage of either objective, and there's 1 pink ward doing a very good job for Vitality.Bee at marking that Baron.
The point you raise is very important. It's very difficult for them to mostly get into any of these objectives, even if it comes down to a trade. Got to be very careful. 1 misstep could spell disaster for LDLC, and the clawing advantages they found themselves in this game. Find 3 in the bush. Ica's coming in with home guards and package now. Look towards Ica. He is your star man for this fight. What can he do? What is about to ensue?
He's got a flank angle from the south side here.
He has here. He might be able to cut them off. When will he go? When will he choose to? Nami Wave comes out. It's going to be the Diplex caught up to the side now. Has to flash, and it's a bad package from Ica.
Flash
might have been able
goes.
to.
Demonic Ascension still available. Ulti's still there for Vitality.Bee, but the Drake up for grabs. LDLC soul on the table.
Some of these crucial rockets. Damage isn't quite coming out. Here comes the engage. Here comes the Ornhorn, but they've not managed to find much more beyond Ragnar. Ragnar with the stone plate. Ike has found his way out, and so much of Vitality.Bee's damage has been done. They've got to turn towards the dragon. LDLC are finding their way into this fight. It is going to go the dragon the way of Vitality.Bee, but
they need
to find their way out of here. They could get wiped here. Ike has got to do so much. He goes forward. He's got to find Shigenda, but he's got stunned up here. He's going to get taken out by Swain, but not before he takes out Shigenda. Not quite. Shigenda stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's going to mean that LDLC take 5. They lose the dragon, but they will get the Baron.
Triple kill for Exakick. They move toward the Baron, and they'll be able to maybe take a good foot road into this game. The health bars are low. It could be a little difficult for them to get it, but they do enough in the fight to secure themselves the win. Ica stepping up huge. That flank angle that we talked about didn't end up being impactful for the package, but for the fight that ensued afterwards, he came around from the top side of that blue buff and completely dismantled Jesper's health bar. He never got an auto off before he was 40%, 30% HP. And LDLC, with the big win in the team fight, they weathered that early game and even the mid-game storm of Vitality.Bee. They're even going to add insult to injury. Wait for the Baron to go on Ica. He respawns just in time to get the buff. And now all 5 members of LDLC are ready to storm on the Vitality.Bee base.
So difficult for them to acquiesce beyond this. That final soul ending in about 3 minutes or so. So difficult for Vitality.Bee with this Baron, with LDLC being able to prep that forward.
Got to see what LDLC do with the Baron. 3 turrets outside the base still stand, but I think their eyes should be set much further forward. We've reached that point now where Jeskler's Draven is not quite hitting the same. You know, there's a lot of resistances onto Ragnar. Trying to cut through this Scion's health bar is very difficult. He's got 4,000 health. Plus all the armor, plus all of the extras that you get from Gargoyle. Vitality.Bee potentially routed in their own jungle now.
Ragnar going to be finding an engage off to the side here. Diplex is going to get caught up here until he goes into stasis. Counter engage comes down. They've got to try and find Ragnar, burn through him, but the stone plate comes out. Ike's off to the side. Can he find one more R onto Skeens? One more will do it. He can't find it through the minions quite. Ike is heralding himself around that blast cone. Goes very low here, but they're going to get Diplex as well. This will probably be a game here. 3 kills is the score on the team fight with the Baron up here. It might not even get down to Soul. LDLC come up clutch in their game 1 of the Super Week and build towards this 9-0 that was fated and was promised. Skeens and Shigenda are the only ones alive.
Final stand now. The 2 top side members, they don't have enough. There's no damage to be found. LDLC going to take it.
They are going to take their 7-0 here. No questions asked. Vitality.Bee had some good resistance in the early game, but LDLC play a disciplined, controlled style. And they were able to just build and build and build their way back into the game, and then came toppling, did Vitality.Bee's foundations that they'd built in the early game.
Yeah, they ultimately built this composition that was drafted largely around Jessica being able to find an early lead and snowballing that to success. Unfortunately, it took them too long to get the cash in, too long for them to generate that snowball to push it down the hill. And fortunately enough, there was a nice little incline that they couldn't quite get down in the form of Ica. He was there ready to just pelt them with rockets left, right, and center. They were flying out, and it was a truly great Corki display. I mean, it get to the late game stage and all of a sudden you've simply won the match. Great fighting around that dragon, the all-important one. Yes, they lose the Drake, but they prioritize the fight. They know that the later the game goes, the more crucial the deaths are, particularly when they are in no pressure to secure the dragon themselves. There's nothing lost if they don't get it.